Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this opening day, cold opening day of the Masters golf tournament over in Augusta, Georgia. Loran Smith is going to try to check in with us if he can get to a quiet place. They have a few rules over there in Augusta about being on phones and all, but he'll be checking in via StreamYard, so it shouldn't be hard. The link, it is very easy to use. But anyway, Dudley Dawson will join us as well here in just a moment, and we'll be checking to see, bottom line, hey, hogville.net, what's going on with the Razorbacks. Football, a lot going on in their basketball recruiting. Baseball, one of the top teams in the country. So Dudley always has a great rapport. And bottom line, who doesn't follow the Masters? Even if you're not a golfer, there's just a lot of things about this golf tournament that draw people's attention. We'll be joined also in hour number 2, the AD Angle with Coach Matt Dean and John Hartwell, AD at ULM, Matt over at Rhodes College in Memphis. Bring Dudley on in here. And Dudley, this right now, and we're hoping Loran Smith will be able to join us in just a minute from Augusta. He's going to be with us for the next few days. And I wanted to just recognize a few people. We've been going back and forth. I know Little Rock was hit. We're right next to Wynn. We're over in Parkin. Of course, we're from Memphis. But two people in particular, Dudley, that I saw a lot of people over in Wynn. The Arkansas Spirit, this is an incredible state. These people over here, they don't whine. They don't complain. They don't bitch and moan. Isn't that a shocker for the rest of the country? Let it be a lesson. But MJ and Audrey and I and Dave Baker and a group of us, Tanner Smith and, Ben Baker, who's a freshman at Christian Brothers High School. We went over there Saturday, went back again Sunday. We're going back again tomorrow on Good Friday. But Sheriff David West and incredible people over there in Cross County. So many people. Met Leslie Rutledge, the lieutenant governor. And we went off the beaten path, Dudley, to find some people that were just kind of doing a populist movement because they need help. And we ran into a couple Sunday about midday, Darlene and Walter Hill. I just wanted to say something about them. They are just two of my favorite people. She is a nurse, and they were cooking in the front of what was left of a funeral home there in Wynn from the tornado, and most of the neighborhood around them is just wiped out. And that was an F3 tornado. I don't know if it was an F4. I'm not a meteorologist. I'm not the bald guy on Channel 3. But they got the hell knocked out of them. And these are tough people in Wynn. So Walter Hill and Darlene Hill, just hats off to you. Salute to you, to the volunteer spirit over there in Arkansas. A lot of people are helping them. Doug Dean, Frank Duffy, Maury Gaston, just three of the guys on this show regularly, part of our team, have helped out financially, and lots of people. So I just want to say, Neil Johnson, all of you, thank you so much. And Dudley, the people of Arkansas, nothing good about a tornado, but man, you go to Wynn and you look at the devastation. They're not sitting around complaining about it. They're doing something about it. So love those people over there. Incredible people.
Having grown up in Northeast Arkansas, we dealt obviously with a lot of tornadoes. And one thing that I was always very proud of was to be from there. When situations like this happened with weather and other things, people would always rally around each other. And I think that's, that's definitely what's happening now. It certainly hurts my heart to see, what happened over there. But it also warms it when you see the resiliency of people and also the outpouring of support. And I know when I texted you on Sunday, you were over helping. So kudos to you.
Yeah, it really is. And like I said, we're going to go back tomorrow. And, Walmart, Tyson, some of these Arkansas companies, they're unbelievable what they are doing for the people. Because, you're talking about a town of 9,000 people. And on the south part of town, downtown area, and by the high school, it looks like what a tornado, what an F3 tornado or F4, whatever it was, can do. So appreciate just everybody, but it just reminds you, America, to hell with the government. I mean, that ain't what we're talking about. We're talking about the people. We're the greatest collection of people in the world. And I believe strongly in American exceptionalism. I also believe in true grit journalism. Hogville.net, Dudley Dawson. I've been writing for a long time over in Arkansas about high school, college, Razorbacks. Where do you start with the Razorbacks? And if Loran Smith can get linked in with us from the Masters, we're going to talk some golf. We're going to talk some Razorbacks, SEC, college football, baseball, basketball. But a lot of movement in basketball recruiting, man. Eric Musselman is flat out getting after in the transfer portal. So let's start there.
Yeah, as usual. I first came up here to Northwest Arkansas in 1981 with Charles Valentine, who obviously hit the shot against North Carolina. We were great friends and a package deal to get up here. And so I've been around the basketball program since 1981. And, it's a different animal than it was when I got up here 42 years ago. He certainly is fleshing out his roster already for next year. A lot of announcements of who's coming back and who's moving on and who's in influx. But I suspect them to do the same thing as they've always done, for them to start getting to know each other in December. The fans start griping a little bit, and then at the end of the year, 3 straight Sweet 16s speak for themselves.
Yeah, they do. And you talked about it a lot during the season, how Eric Musselman typically will go with and lean heavily on one or maybe 2 of his freshmen. And this year he went heavy on 5 or 6 of them. And the one that was the most highly rated, maybe the top player coming in out of high school in America, Nick Smith was there, then he was out, then he came back. But to get them into the Sweet 16 with all that coming and going, that's a good harbinger, I think, of things to come. What do you expect the roster to look like next year, opening day, in terms of experience? Because we just saw in this NCAA tournament a couple of things that Doug Dean pointed out to us. Number one, I think the first time ever a Final Four with 0 McDonald's All-Americans. Mm-hmm. Nobody supersized. And number 2, San Diego State's team in the Final Four was older than 5 NBA teams. So experience certainly matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's still about development. They always say it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmys and Joes. And that will certainly be, a factor in everything. But I do think that certainly you have to look at that as a way to mesh with that young talent and the experience. Arkansas has had, as I said, has had several guys announce that they're coming back. Joseph Pinion, Jalen Graham, are a couple that announced yesterday that I know they're excited to get back. Jalen Graham had an inconsistent season, but he showed what he could do offensively a lot, and I know that he'll work on his weaknesses and get more playing time next year. Jordan Walsh is probably the next one to announce. Anthony Black, you would think, would be headed to the NBA with Nick Smith. Ricky Council also announced, and then Devo Davis is smart in that he is putting his name in the draft, going to get all the info you can get, and then I suspect he'll be back. So that's a good core coming back. That Darian Ford as well. I want to mention him. Hadn't heard from Barry Dunning. We'll see what goes on there. But I think they're going to have a pretty good mix when you bring along Layden Blocker and Bay Fall, the 2 McDonald's All-Americans that they have coming back that they have coming in. I think it's going to be a mix of old and new. And I know that one of the things that they really were going to go after in this portal was shooting. And certainly got one of those with Ken Minfield from the other day from Washington.
Yeah, and we talked about that with Coach John Brady was on the show a couple of days ago on Tuesday about the national championship game, and then just his thoughts again going through the regular basketball season and up to the Final Four. And he said when he's the color analyst on the LSU Basketball Network, and they were in Tuscaloosa when Alabama just really laid the wood, I think 106-66 against LSU. And he was talking to Alabama's coach, Nate Oates, after the game. And he said, do you recruit shooters? Or maybe it was asked by him or somebody. And Nate Oates' reply was, no, I recruit shooters. You don't develop them. He goes, I recruit them. And that's right. Like Coach Brady says, you recruit length and you recruit shooters. And Nate Oates says that they're hard to find. And you look at teams in the portal, I noticed the hot commodity players are the ones that are shooting close to 40% from three-point range and 45 to 50% from just regular, shooting, 2-point and then the intermediate, the close shot. It's almost hard to even talk about close inside next to the basket anymore because, Dudley, when you watch one game, you seem like you see them all. They kick it in, kick it out, kick it in, kick it out. But they're using that analytics model. 3 points is better than 2. But if you live by the 3, you die by the 3. And if you don't rebound well, it's a miserable, slow death.
Yeah, the standard used to be 50% from the field, 40% from three-point line, and 80% from the free throw line. Those were great numbers. And if you could get people like that, then you knew that, you were going to have shooters on your team. Those percentages have gone down a little bit because of the concentration on the three-point game, as you was mentioning a lot, more up-tempo play. But I still think that any team that wins the national championship, and we saw that with UConn, we saw how well they shot against Arkansas, really throughout the whole entire tournament. You can't just win and be one-dimensional. You've got to be a full team. And as we saw, I think from the 4 teams that were in the Final Four this year, they were all well-rounded teams that did everything well, and that's what you would expect when somebody ends up playing in the final couple of games of the year.
Yeah. I noticed I had several brackets that I filled out. And the one of my brackets, I had the Sidelines.live bracket. I had Alabama, Duke, Texas A&M. I must have been drinking way too much coffee, and UConn. And I had my national championship game as Duke versus UConn, with UConn bringing home the trophy. And it's incredible. You look at it now in terms of national championships, it's UCLA all time with 11. Second most is Kentucky with 8. And then you've got North Carolina with 7. And 6 is, you got with 5 national championships, it's Duke, Indiana, and now UConn. And Kansas has 4. So UConn passed Kansas in the national championships. Does that make them a bluer blue blood than Kansas? Hell, I don't know. That Kansas can claim Fog Allen, the Naismith. They got some tradition. There's no question about that. But UConn's done it all since 1999. 5 national championships and 13 Final Fours. That's a hell of a program.
That's pretty blue to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Navy blue
from years and years and years ago, but that's pretty blue for me. And, I think that, a lot of people have them already number 1 and they're too early for 2020. Heck, I guess it's 2024, national championship.
Yeah.
That's a solid group right there. And, I don't know that Danny Hurley, he's a great coach. I don't know if he's likable to some other coaches, but that's what happens when you win.
Yeah. And one thing, why would you leave UConn to take another job unless you don't like living in Connecticut and paying those high taxes? I mean, that's a big deal, but he is not going to leave UConn. And I think about Mark Few's not going to leave Gonzaga. I think he's been there so long that he doesn't need to go anywhere else and improve. But the one that I want to see get back into coaching is Jay Wright. I mean, national championships at Villanova, 2016 and 2018. And Villanova has 3 national championships. Dudley, you think Jay Wright's going to come back in after watching from the TV, broadcast set there, TNT, CBS, whatever he was on, True TV. There's 4 different channels covering it, but he's too good to be kept up in the corral.
Yeah, whether he comes back or not, he elevated himself from an already great coach to somebody that, a lot of people want to have as their coach, be around. Know the NBA has reached out a few times to him and had seemed to be interested. It's going to be, for what he said he was doing, he just needed to take a break. And I know we all feel that sometimes we can't really step away and get the TV job. But I think that, I wouldn't be surprised to see him back, but also I wouldn't be surprised just to see him enjoy his life.
Yeah. And he's only 60 years old, and he's been successful for a long time. And I like the way the way he talks about New York City guards. I mean, that's a street ball, pavement ball up there, man. Great basketball. Those kids come out, they're tough. No matter where you put them in the country, they seem to succeed. They make everybody around them push harder. And someone like Jay Wright, who can talk about the New York City guards and what they meant to his program, and Philadelphia plays some good basketball too, don't get me wrong. But I just loved watching him and Charles Barkley and Kenny Smith and Candace Moore. I think Ernie Johnson. I think they do a hell of a job. Let's take a quick break. Loran Smith, now he may, Dudley, have been caught over there. Now, you can't talk on cell phones, but he is Loran Smith. But he's able to sneak away into a private area there at the clubhouse or the Butler's Cow. Who knows? But we're going to try to get him on. But we got a lot to talk about. Rob Browne, Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, right after this quick message.
Hey y'all, it's Ainsley from Hewlett & Dunn, just coming to let you know about our new collection of boots. It's going to be our dress boots. They're the Horsepower collection, and they're genuine exotic leathers and really comfortable. Comes in all different sizes and patterns, so come check them out.
Hi, I'm Eleanor Maynard, a 4th-generation residential broker with Hobbs & Realtors. Inventory is still a record low in Memphis, and the demand for more supply is continuing to spread across the Mid-South. Rates are starting to stabilize, which means the number of buyers is picking up daily. If you are interested in taking advantage of today's market, please give me, Eleanor Maynard, your Sidelines Live residential specialist, a call today, and let's discuss your needs. 901-761-1622 or directly on my mobile, 901-219-1905. That's 219-1905.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne back here with Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net. And you need to make sure you follow him. Dudley, give them your information before we get going again, how they can follow you on the website, all your writings, and also on Twitter.
Well, I work for Hogville.net. I often say the best source for sports news about Arkansas and the state of Arkansas. And for those outside, now they have this internet thing, you can go all over the place. Also do some high school coverage for Fearless Friday because that's one of my true loves. And then also have the Twitter handle Dead Sports, DED Sports. Lots of lots of stuff like the Braves sweeping the Cardinals, which was not happy for me this week. But we'll be back. It's early.
Long.
Well, my wife's a Braves fan, so happy household, I guess.
Yeah, and so is Billy Robertson. Our fan base, most of our listeners are flanked on the east by the Braves Nation, on the west by the Cardinals Nation, and in between, they probably pull for both of them. But
and the best thing for me is that I usually have a lot of Braves on my baseball fantasy team. So if there's somebody's going to do good things against the Cardinals, I'm glad it's somebody that I have drafted. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One thing, I like those fantasy. I don't do one, but it'll make you follow baseball or football or basketball, whatever, if you've got a fantasy team, because you're interested in their stats. And it's like owning shares of stock. Like if you've got a managed portfolio with 10 different companies in it, you're going to pay attention to every bit of news you can find about those companies. Now, you can also drive yourself crazy if you do it, kind of like that neighbor of ours that had a vegetable garden. About every other day, used to go out and pull the tomato plants up by the roots to check their progress. And, then he just don't do that. But Dudley,
I think it feeds my knowledge and also feeds my competitive edge, which I need.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, these competitive baseball drafts that people do. I mean, it's usually a lot of people getting together and eating and drinking, and that's just even more fun. It's fun to watch. All right, college on the baseball, SEC standings. LSU and Arkansas are on top in the West. In the East, golly, you got Florida, Vanderbilt, South Carolina. Tennessee's struggling some this year. They're not the same team they were last year, but right now at this point, you're going into series weekend number 4 in the SEC. Are you surprised by how competitive the league is? Because I'm not. It's kind of like if I'm going to a steakhouse, I'm not surprised if I ordered a steak. It's the best league in the country.
Yeah, and we say that about a lot of sports in the SEC, but that's just the truth. The Arkansas, as you mentioned, 6-3, lost the 2 of 3 down there at LSU, but have swept Auburn and bounced back against Alabama last week. Got Ole Miss this weekend. Ole Miss 1-8 in conference play. But, just wrote a story that'll be put up here a little bit later with Dave Van Horn, the Arkansas coach, talking about, it really doesn't matter what the record is. He knows how good that club is. He knows how good Coach Mike Bianco is, who got his 891th win the other night. So I suspect it'll be a tough deal down there. I'm kind of looking to see how real South Carolina and Kentucky are. I'm about to jump on that bandwagon. South Carolina against LSU this weekend, certainly a place to prove themselves. And Kentucky has been doing it all season. Those are 2 teams that you really didn't hear much about going into the year, but getting off to great starts are a key to any success story, and they certainly have gotten off to those early here in conference play.
Yeah, and people certainly will listen to you a lot more if you're winning. And when being 1-8, that's where a coach really has his work cut out for him, and the assistants and all, because they're going, guys, keep doing what we've been preaching. And if 1-8 becomes 1-9 and 1-10, 1-11, you can have a nightmare. But remember what happened to Ole Miss last year? They were. Yeah,
if you learned a lesson, that you can teach them right there.
Yeah. So just remember last year. But the one that's interesting is Mississippi State with Chris Lamonis. They won the national championship last year. They didn't even make the SEC tournament in Hoover, or certainly not the NCAA tournament. And this year, it's the same thing. I'm shocked. Mississippi State people have got to be upset. But you're in the toughest league in the country. So you go win a national championship in the SEC. Everybody else wants to get that championship too. It's not a zero sums game. Like, hey, we're getting better. We're improving facilities like nobody else is. That's what makes it so tough. There are leagues in the country where it's not even close to that.
Absolutely, and it's just every week in SEC baseball, SEC football, all the other sports, softball, and obviously track up here is big, and so many other sports that the SEC has just set itself apart as it just means more. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it really does. And I don't think, I think when we talk to coaches in the Southeast, they'll tell you that when they play a Michigan or they play a team from out West, they always learn stuff because the teams in the Big Ten, they're having to do a lot more work on, inside because it's hard to practice outside, especially if you've got a lot of snow on the ground. It's not going to happen. So Michigan made it to the World Series just a couple of years ago. And so they'll go play every team they can where it's warm early before they get into the conference schedule. And I think that's smart. Want to ask you now, Hugh Freeze brought it up, and he's talking about why can't, instead of these spring games, which are glorified practices for A-Day at Auburn or Arkansas or LSU, wherever the school. So why can't we have, maybe we play Troy and Alabama play UAB or Alabama State or South Alabama, whatever. And then we could find a charity like the Children's of Alabama or the Orphans Fund and donate the money to that. Well, and I respect you, Freeze, for bringing this up, but go back to a 1980 April edition of the Auburn Plainsman student newspaper. You and I were in high school, okay? Doug Barfield said then, I think it'd be really fun if we could play Kentucky or Ole Miss or LSU, a team we don't play every year, because back then it was a 10-game SEC format, and you played the same teams and you rotated occasionally. And he said, I think we could have great crowds. It would be interesting. And we'd get to see some teams, and our fans would, that we don't normally play. So give former Auburn coach Doug Barfield and Jason Caldwell inside the Auburn Tigers was on with us yesterday. And he said, Coach Barfield goes to my church in Auburn. And I said, well, ask him about that and see if he remembers it. So give credit where it's due. But Dudley, I think it's a great idea. We already do it in basketball. We already do it in baseball. Why not football? Does it make too much sense?
Yeah, ostensibly, I think it's a great idea, and they used to have something similar way back in the day. The one thing that I think most coaches would, with their health scares these days and getting 85 people to the fall healthy, would be worried about is getting somebody hurt in that game. They don't do as much contact during the spring or during the fall as they used to back in the day. So I think coaches, while they may support it, up front, I'm not sure that they would be all for it there. Again, I'd love it, but again, I'm not in charge of keeping everybody healthy to get them September 1st or whatever.
Yeah, well, and what Hugh Freeze was saying was, you cut by 50% your chance of injuries because, you don't have your guys going up against your own guys. And look, you get tired of banging on each other. We understand that. 15 days in the spring, you're trying to develop and find quarterbacks. You're trying to develop some of the guys, especially if they came in January. But I think it would be a hell of a format to do. And I hope, I really, 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 really wish that we would do it. I think that you could even have some national games, but think of, and it would be like, I read one comment, like it was a blog and it makes sense. It's another tailgating opportunity on campus, fans. It's like an extra game, and we do it in the NFL with scrimmages. And I think, as people have pointed out, coaches and they would be smart enough to not, try to injure anybody, and quarterbacks would be off limits. They'd wear a green jersey or something, but still it'd be a lot of fun. Now, if you did Arkansas State and Arkansas, let's say Arkansas State wins the spring game. Well, Arkansas and Arkansas State are going to start playing, I think, in 2025. The fans, it may get them crazy. Like, how did we lose that game? But it certainly would motivate your team. I like it. I just think it would be a lot of interest in the spring if we did that. You don't have to. The question is, will the NCAA allow it? Because it makes so much sense.
that's a big question. Also, it's not this weekend, obviously, but next weekend is when Arkansas is having their spring game. Also going on at the same time will be Arkansas and Tennessee baseball, although that's scheduled for Saturday night. You've got Arkansas softball, who's one of the better teams in the country as well. So it's going to be a big weekend. Now, if you threw in, let's say them playing Oklahoma State, since it's one of the ones that is not coming to the SEC at least yet, certainly that would be major draw, and I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong, but I wonder how long, what obstacles they'd have to get through to get there. But yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and it just would be a lot of fun. Now, we also have had people proposing, do we take college basketball, those games, when they start the games in November, trying to compete with college football, it's very difficult. So, okay, do we go to mid to late April for college basketball? Then you get into trying to compete with the Masters and the PGA, college baseball, spring practice games. I think we're stuck on that one where we are. But you got to always think of ways to improve on what you have. And I think it would be a lot of fun. Let's talk about Arkansas's football right now. Recruiting looks like it's going well. KJ Jefferson being back. Dan Enos is back in Fayetteville. Look at his track record. It doesn't take him long to get positive results, Dudley. What do you think he's going to try to get out of KJ Jefferson that you haven't seen in his previous 3 years up in Fayetteville? Any ideas?
I'm saying I think a little bit more consistency of being on the field. Also, as he continues to put himself into a position to be drafted in the NFL, I think there are a lot of things that Coach Enos can bring to the table. Certainly, Kendall Browse did a good job with him. But I think they're, a fresh voice and some different techniques and different things, at the line of scrimmage really helps you. And KJ has been excited about what he's learned and what he's doing from Coach Eno. So I think it's going to be a good thing. I'm going to be out there today at 4:00. They've got another practice. Not only is KJ looking good, but there's a lot more people in the quarterback room with a lot more ability than there was last year. So, that's an overall good sign for Arkansas.
Yeah, and you've been around Coach Enos and watched how he develops players, quarterbacks, whatever. It's just like a chef, you and I could go to the grocery store and spend $1,000 and buy the best chicken, fish, beef, whatever. Uncle Charlie for my 3 sons could, and then Gordon Ramsay could go to the kitchen, to the same place, grocery store where we went and buy the same groceries. Who's going to have a better meal? Some coaches get it, and other ones are just clipping coupons. It's just not that good. Enos, I consider one of the elite quarterback offensive guys out there.
Well, he certainly has a track record here. Brandon Allen, who was a good quarterback, became a great quarterback when Enos was here. He ended up getting drafted by the NFL. A lot of people don't know, but he's Joe Burrow's backup still in Cincinnati. So you don't get much playing time there, but he keeps cashing a check. But Enos took him from a guy that was inconsistent to a guy that had a great season. They went 3,000 and 2,000 and 1,000. In terms of rushing and passing and all that, and it certainly was one of the better years when Coach Enos was here in terms of offense. At Arkansas.
Yeah, and you've got go back and look at offenses when Alabama was averaging about 31 points a game. And then Tua and Matt Jones, and they went on to, with Jalen Hurts and Tua, Mac Jones, and then Bryce Young. They went from 31 to averaging about 45 points a game real fast. So if you're going to beat them, you better score 48. If your defense can hold teams to under 24 points in today's college football world, Dudley, would you got to be considered pretty good on defense because of the offenses we have?
Absolutely. I mean, it is the Wolves and every other thing has been gifted to help the offense, but it certainly defense still wins championships. Offense has got to be there. Defense still wins championships, but if you don't have enough offense to put up the points, at least put up enough to keep your team off the field, the other team off the field, then it's then you're just struggling. And I see we have a lie from the Masters.
Yeah. Hey, let's do this. Loran Smith, hey, appreciate you taking time to join us. We're about a minute away from the break. We want to come back and get the update on the Masters, but it's cold over here. It's about 49 degrees in Memphis and Parkin. What are you going to have? Mid-80s today, blue, sunny skies. Set the table for us.
Well, it's going to be pretty warm based on the forecast, but, I never trust weathermen. They're like Las Vegas odds makers. So you just don't know. I've seen it just be the worst forecast ever, and it turns out pretty good. And then I've seen it where it slips up on you. But April is sort of a crazy month for weather all across the country. So we don't know whether it's going to be pleasant, or we don't know whether it's going to be active. And if it's active and there's lightning, you don't need to be on a golf course. So it's tough on
Loran, hold those thoughts. We're going to come right back, take a quick commercial break. More Loran Smith live from the Masters in Augusta and Dudley Dawson. Okay, Rob Browne back with Dudley Dawson and Loran Smith live from the Masters. And Loran, I was watching on the Golf Channel live from the Masters this morning, and they said that this is a lot of people's favorite day of the year for golf because it's the opening day of the Masters. This is the 87th Masters, your 64th consecutive. Is there anybody in America or the world who can lay claim to a streak like that, to a guy, as you say, an old country boy from Wrightsville, Georgia, the one who introduced Dudley, the Georgia football coaches, to Herschel Walker. They said, Wrightsville, Georgia, y'all don't even have a stoplight. And he said, well, y'all are going to be going to recruit this young man. And Loran, just let her rip, man. Let's go.
Well, it's really fun. I grew up, probably 2 hours from here, but never knew much about the Masters. We didn't take a daily newspaper when I was growing up until I got into high school. And I was mainly interested in baseball, so I didn't know about Augusta. But when I did find out about it, I couldn't wait to get here. And I came in 1960 with a friend of mine who was a newspaper editor. His dad was, and he got 2 tickets. 2 series badges, and he let me use one of them on Sunday. I saw Arnold Palmer bird the last 2 holes, 17-18, to overtake Ken Ventura, the leader of the clubhouse, and it's just been sensational ever since. I can't believe my good fortune. The accident of geography really gave me a lot of wonderful memories at one of the greatest golf tournaments in the world.
It is. Dudley Dawson, I would say he's kind of like James Bond, Roger Moore, going to all these tournaments, 64 consecutive at the Masters. But jump in here, Dudley.
Well, my first personal experience with the Masters was a little bit different. I was going down to cover the Peace Jam there in North Augusta, South Carolina, which is just across the bridge, and thought, well, I'll just stop off here and check out the Masters. So Gate was open, so I walked out there onto a green, and people came from everywhere telling me that I wasn't allowed to be out there during that time. So, yeah, but that was fun. I mean, it made for a good story, So, but it is hallowed grounds, as they say, and it's I've got it on this morning, and I got to be honest, I very rarely watch golf at 8:30 in the morning, but the right now Tiger's sitting here, taking his practice swings, and it's just it's a great event, and it's always perfectly placed right after March Madness.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, the Masters, I think you could say, is the classiest of tournaments. Now that doesn't mean, and it's like beauty being in the eye of the beholder. All of the British Commonwealth countries, they all like the British Open. Of course, they don't use the term British. It's the Open, the oldest golf major. And then the U.S. Open, most American players want to win it because it's the National Open. So you want to win the national championship. And a lot of golfers probably would say if they had a choice between the U.S. and the Masters, they might take the U.S. for that reason. That makes you a national champion, and you give the highest regards to that. And then the PGA is just a terrific tournament, and it might have the best field in a given year. And it just really is something that people see as just the fiercest and toughest competition. Now, I don't know that how much it's improved by coming into the spring, but I didn't go to the PGA, although I've done my own Grand Slam about 6 times. So I've seen all majors in 6 different years. But the PGA now being played in the spring, I think, is a much more popular tournament for the fans for sure.
Yeah. Loran, this morning, I said that Gary Player, Jack Nicklaus, and Tom Watson were out there for the opening tee shot. And again, weather aside, they're going to play that tournament. Again, it's like all the things I love about the South and college football and the weather, the good-looking women, the $1 pimento cheese sandwiches, the $1 egg salad sandwiches. Tradition graduates. And you've been going there 64 straight years now. And I have a lot of friends. I have some that are over there now. If you meet Kirby and Glenn Floyd, say hello to them. They're from Memphis. One of
delighted.
Tell people what it means. You know Jack Nicklaus, and you know a lot of these people. Is Vern Lundquist there yet? Have you had your traditional lunch with him yet?
Yeah, we had dinner on Tuesday night. We had a host, Bill Griffin, and Vern. His contract extends to the next Masters, and I know he hopes to continue coming back. He just loves Augusta like anybody else who has an opportunity to connect with this great event.
Yeah, and we had him on the show back in late September, and we talked about you. He loves you, man. He loves Augusta, and but I love the whole, like you say, the tradition. Dudley, how about that? 6 Grand Slams he's been to. I don't know anybody that's done that. And when you read Loran's books, and he's writing a book, Dudley, about the Georgia team in 21. And then I said, Loran, the way y'all are playing, the Georgia 22 team's going to win the national championship. You're going to be stuck in Sea Island or St. Simon's in your writer's colony, but it's a good place to be stuck.
Yeah, certainly it's a great couple of years here for Georgia. It elevated the conference even more. Certainly Alabama was the talk, and now it kind of plays itself out, and you've got different challengers, and the SEC is healthy, that's for sure.
Yeah. Loran, of all the golfers there, Tiger Woods was talking about, and when he turns 50, he gets a buggy. I heard him say that this morning. Expand on that, and also talk about if you've had a chance to be around him or some of the other golfers. And there's another golfer that a lot of people have talked about, and he's a California guy, Max Homa. if you know much about him.
Well, I really don't. I am out of touch with the younger golfers these days because I don't get out on the tour like I once did. I used to be on the tour, at least a half a dozen to 10 times a year. And but lately, COVID mainly, I just have not been able to get out as much as I once did. And I enjoy doing that, but also I'm getting long in the tooth. Travel is not as easy as it once was, or it wasn't as compatible with my physical standing like it once was. Maybe that would be more appropriate. But we got some young players who really can play, like Scotty Scheffler. Boy, he can hit the ball mighty long ways, and he's really an outstanding player who, he's the defending champion, and he's probably the hottest player in golf right now. I really like those younger players, but I enjoy listening to the old timers. Oh, the greatest fun for me through the years at the upper clubhouse here at Augusta, you could go into the locker room, or you could go up on the porch that overlooks the putting green next to the big oak tree, and you could hear Sam Snead, Ben Hogan didn't come around very much, but he did one time, I remember. But Snead and Sayers and Nelson, they all would pontificate. They would talk. And it was a young writer's dream. You didn't have to ask a question. You just had to, all you had to do is listen and make notes. I remember Gene Saracen telling me he had, when he made the double eagle at 15, number 15 and 35, 1935, said there were 23 people around the green, but said in his lifetime, he thought a couple of thousand said they saw the shot. So that's taking license a long, long way. But all those guys claim to have seen the shot. He told me at least a couple of thousand or more.
Well, I mean, I got a question for you. This is from Shoney down in Valdosta, Georgia, who pretty damn good golfer, went to Auburn with me. He said, ask Loran who took Jeff Knox's place as a marker member for Augusta National.
I don't think anybody has. Is that true? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it just Shoney used to play on the tour in high school. I think he actually had a 7 under par one time. He's a pretty good golfer till he got to college. But Anheuser-Busch took him out of that one. But Loran, and I want you, Dudley, to jump back in here. Dudley, when you're covering an event like this, you just heard Loran talk about the history, the tradition, the heroes. There's so much to cover. It's almost like, taking a drink of water from a fire hydrant. Where would you start, Dudley, based on what Loran has talked about on covering this?
Well, I don't know about the younger generation, but, when he was speaking there, I just was at, rapt attention there because I'm a history guy, whether it be, off the court, off the course, whatever. And we learn from, those who were there and can tell us a little bit more than what we, say, read in the history books.
Yeah.
And, that's just, I think that's one of the key things for me these days in terms of sports writing. I have a lot of younger colleagues who are very talented, but they will say that is the greatest crowd ever in the history of Arkansas football or basketball or baseball. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's the greatest one you've seen, but it's old timers, and I think it's, history plays a big part in not only, telling us what happened back in the days, but telling us why it happened and why we're where we are now.
Yeah. Loran, I like what Dudley just said. That's a great take on it. And we also talked about Vern Lundquist, Jim Nance. There's so many people that bring these stories to us, and you've written half a dozen books on the Masters. Worldwide, the popularity of Tiger Woods and American golfers, the legends keep on growing. Who are your picks to win the Masters this year? You got a top 3 or 4?
Well, not really. I'm the worst handicapper there is when it comes to golf. I wouldn't be any good choosing a winner after the third round unless they had a 10-shot lead. I might be able to get that right. But I've never been a handicapper. I think what we don't know and what the players know, they know who is playing really well coming into the tournament. They know who's got the irons crisp, who's making putts. And so you really need to go to the competitors and get them to give you an insight into who's doing the best out on the tour, and that make a big difference in your picking. Of course, I notice on Sports Center and all the TV shows, the people who played football, coach football, don't get it right very often either. So. It's just hard. You don't know when the quarterback's had a fight with his girlfriend. You don't know when the guy's flunked the test and eligibility is in question. You don't know all of those extemporaneous things that come about, in the course of a season. So it's hard. It's really hard to pick winners, and it's really hard to. From my perspective, the handicap golfer. I heard one time Ben Hogan say, if I was betting, I'd bet on Bruce Devlin. So if he can play, he had played with him in Houston a little bit, the Australian golfer. So I'm not a good handicapper. There was a time when you could pick Jack Nicklaus and you could hardly go wrong, same as it was with Tiger Woods. You couldn't go wrong picking him, either one of those guys.
Loran, and on another one of this year's field out here, you've got LIV Golf, and we've had Mark Schlabach on ESPN.com a lot, and he's been covering a lot more golf lately. And we talked about LIV, and the PGA and LIV. Are they working together to try to work things out so there's not this big heated competition? Because I don't want to see us lose the PGA and what we have in golf to the Saudi Royal Trust Fund.
Well, I just don't know. It has a carnival atmosphere, free beer and playing in shorts. Jesus, This ain't the damn Hiawassee Open. Them dressed like a golfer traditionally dressed. That's what they want, fine. But it's something about all that sort of doesn't excite me. But, I can say this about Greg Norman. If you go back and look at his career, he was his greatest when after 54 holes. So maybe that's why they got a 54-hole format. Yeah. He never did close on Sunday.
That's funny.
Loran, you are that's what I love about you. You are a truth broker. Dudley, jump back in.
Well, I was going to say, my Greg Norman story, Pinnacle Country Club up here in Northwest Arkansas, when they first put it together, they brought in some elite athletes for basically a pro-am type deal. Larry Bird, Wayne Gretzky, Von Lindell, Greg Norman. And I got a chance to be around those guys for a little while. And the others just razzed Greg Norman unmercifully because he brought his wife, where the others didn't have them. But it was a fun time. But I go back to, I just see this vision now. It's not what I want, don't get me wrong, but I see this vision of Jim Ross, the wrestling announcer, on Sunday with one of the LIV guys, battling one of the PGA guys down the end of things, and then on the 18th hole they start up Stone Cold Steve Austin's music. And, oh my God, that's Greg Norman's music,
Dudley, hold those thoughts, Loran. Just a few more minutes with you, and if we're gonna come right back after the break. Dudley, awesome stuff there. And Loran Smith, this is solid gold. Dewey Phillips here, right back after this.
Hi, I'm Eleanor Maynard, a fourth-generation residential broker with Hobbs & Realtors. Inventory is still a record low in Memphis, and the demand for more supply is continuing to spread across the Mid-South. Rates are starting to stabilize, which means the number of buyers is picking up daily. If you are interested in taking advantage of today's market, please give me, Eleanor Maynard, your Sidelines Live residential specialist, a call today, and let's discuss your needs. 901-761-1622 or directly on my mobile, 901-219-1905. That's 219-1905.
All right, Loran Smith is back here with us. Dudley, Dawson, Rob Browne talking about the Masters, and it's almost, I almost wonder if we're not going to see. Well, I don't know if he's still living. Gordon Solich doing LIV golf, but Loran, and we'll let you go here in just a second, and we'll do this again tomorrow if you can be back on with us, and Saturday, like we were saying. It's just great to get coverage from you there. What about the tournament? I have I guess the last question I have is, they've got, I heard on the Golf Channel, under every on every hole they have a drainage system specialized under that can get it cleaned off or dried off pretty quickly. Is there anything like that in the world, and that TV studio and everything they have there at the Masters? Do they ever stop innovating?
No, and I don't think they ever will. It's like the press building, the media center. It's as classy as the Waldorf in the old days. It's just a tremendous facility, and only Augusta could build a classic facility like that and not use it but once a year. So
yeah,
the elevators have hardwood floors. There's just everything about Augusta is so spectacular, and it's so real, and you never ever come to Augusta and cease to be amazed at how clean and kempt it is. I mean, it's just the most exciting place there is in golf. I mean, the first tournament I ever saw was the Masters, and I saw it 2 or 3 times. When I went to a PGA tour, and I saw trash boxes everywhere and streamers, I said, Jesus, what's wrong with these people? I thought every tournament was going to be like the Masters. Well, that's not the case. So I just think that the Masters has enough money to do what they want to do, and they just want to make it first class. They went around and bought up property joining the footprint of the main course and buildings. It's just to keep people from encroaching on the tournament and tournament events.
Yeah.
So it's just a classic, beautiful scene. And I think they probably took a cue from Walt Disney. He built Disneyland in Anaheim, and everybody came and encroached on the property. I mean, it's still in operation, and it's still an interesting place. I've been there, like you probably have, and it's nice. But also, when he decided he wanted to do Disney World in Orlando, they went and bought all that property. And when they went to look at it and evaluate everything, it wouldn't let Walt Disney off the plane. Didn't want him to be recognized. So they learned their lesson from Anaheim. So they had enough land that it was not going to be able to be encroached on by an outside interest. I think that's pretty smart, pretty nice.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, Augusta it's a special place, and the last thing, the $1 pimento cheese sandwiches and all, are they the best you've ever had, Loran? And the egg salad and all the food.
Yeah, I like the pimento cheese. It's just a good sandwich. I don't eat more than about 4 a day.
Do they sell that pimento cheese anywhere from the Masters?
No, I doubt it.
Yeah, because whatever the recipe is, people could wear it out. But look, Loran, I know you got a big day ahead of you. We'll talk again tomorrow morning. And great job. That StreamYard is the first time you tried, it's a little bit unusual, but I know you did it from Los Angeles when you were out there covering Georgia for the national championship. But thanks so much for being with us. And let's talk tomorrow. And also tomorrow we can talk a little about your book and whether you're about to write another book, and you may be writing another book. So, but Loran Smith live
it was
from
an honor. It was an honor to be on with you, Mr. Smith.
Hey, no mister here. I'm plain old Loran. And I really enjoy talking to you guys. Sorry I was late chiming in. I had to drive from Athens over here this morning and picked up somebody who was running a little late, namely me. And I didn't get here in time. So,
by the way, did you see Jack Nicklaus this morning, or Gary Player, or Tom Watson?
No, I didn't get here soon enough. I saw Jack. I saw him at dinner when he came down from the Champions dinner on Tuesday night. That was really. That's pretty interesting. If you're fortunate enough to have dinner at the club, you really enjoy seeing those Masters champions come down in their green jackets following their traditional dinner.
Loran, I'm going to tell you, when you're on here, when you're talking, your good Southern accent, it's like you're painting the way you describe this thing. It's like being on with an artist. But y'all have fun today. We're going to be watching it. And if you run into Kirby and Glenn Floyd, my friends from Memphis, tell them I said hello, because I told him that you are the man in Augusta. So anyway, have a great day.
All right, you too. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I'll tell you what, guys, I want to be, I think Loran might be 81, 82, 64 consecutive Masters, Dudley Dawson. Wow. And Matt Dean, this is Dudley Dawson, hogville.net on with us. And Dudley, hang on as long as you can. We're going to have John Hartwell, the AD at ULM, on in a second, the AD angle. But I just love like what he just said about the LIV tour. I mean, he said, God, they're out there wearing shorts and free beer, and it's like a carnival. He goes, for God's sake, dress like a golfer. I mean, that's I love it.
He was describing me.
But you wouldn't do that at Augusta, though. You know what I'm saying?
No, but I certainly would do it at every other club.
No, absolutely. No.
Me as well, Dudley.
I play much better in shorts than with a beer.
Hey, totally agree. And by the way, somebody sent me a picture of possibly the greatest distraction that you could have at the golf tournament. It was what was the person? Natalie Gulbis. She's retired from the tour now. Are you familiar with? Yeah, she was. They showed her a picture of her on the golf course. I was going, that's kind of like when the movie Happy Gilmore, when that big giant guy Richard Keel was out there trying to distract him. Shooter McGavin. Holy cow! But they're all kind of Richard Keel, wasn't he the giant guy that rode in the
James Bond movies?
Yeah, and he was what, 8 feet tall? Did he play basketball or football for anybody? No,
I don't know his bio information, Rob.
Yeah, I think he's been laid to rest though, unfortunately. But I'm going to have to ask tomorrow. I've got my money on Happy Gilmore in this tournament, but talking about the Masters, Dudley and Matt, it's the golf tournament that people that don't watch golf all watch. Mm-hmm. I think it's because they work so hard on the tradition. And don't y'all see what the parallel between that and the South and our reverence for tradition, especially with college football, Matt? I mean, all of you, I think that's where it all begins. And then, hey, he said the dollar pimento cheese sandwiches. He goes, I won't have more than 3 or 4 of them today, but that's all I'll have.
Well, Rob, I remember growing up, my first introduction to golf was my father. We used to watch Masters on the weekend. And my dad was a huge Jack Nicklaus fan. So I started watching golf probably in the late 70s when I was a younger lad. And just some of the traditions that have carried over And then, like, I don't know, I'm assuming, I just joined the show, but I'm assuming Gary Player, that he hit the first tee ball today. Was that how they did it to start the Masters? I wasn't sure if Gary or Jack did that, but there's so many things. And I'll tell you what's interesting culturally. Even my kids, they play like this. They call it like an invitational, the Browne Invitational every year, and the winner wins gets a green jacket. And next year they have a party and they have a menu for dinner and they choose their menu. One of the neat things this week was that. I came in on the tail end of Mr. Smith's conversation, but talked about the championship dinner. There was a picture on Twitter the other night, just incredible. The group of golfers in that room all wearing green jackets.
Yeah.
And, Scotty Scheffler is the defending champion, so he got a chance to pick the menu prior to the dinner. And I think one of the things on there was cheeseburger sliders, and apparently Jordan Spieth had about 3 of those before it even got started. So just great stuff. And I'm just looking forward to, honestly, I know it's a bucket list thing for me. I'd love to go to around there, but I just love having the family together and watching it, to be honest with you, on the weekend. It's really cool.
Well,
by the way, I have the Richard Kill info. He did not play basketball. He was 7'2", but he got into acting so quick that and his height was because of gigantism, which sounds like a made-up word, but apparently is a real thing.
Wow.
Well, he was one of my favorite actors of all time and played a great role in Happy Gilmore. I got distracted there. My wife, Audrey, just said, "Is that coffee good this morning?" I said, "It's awesome." She goes, "Well, I put some of Juan Valdez." Remember Juan Valdez, the famous, was that Colombian coffee? We found it at where did we find it? At Walmart's in Wynn, Arkansas, where we find everything. I mean, that you can find. My customers always call it Walmart's. And I'm like, well, it's Walmart, but it's Walmart's. But, man, you put some Juan Valdez coffee in your coffee, that's the real deal. She also puts it in brownies. And by the way, just a little side, if you like making brownies, Audrey, we found them at Walmart's in Wynn. Dolly Parton's brownies. Holy cow. Dolly doesn't do anything. She only does things in a big way. And she did these brownies in a big way. That's the best brownies I've put in my mouth. So put a little bit of Juan Valdez coffee. She mixes in the mix with Dolly Parton's brownies, as good as it gets. All right. So y'all both talking about the tradition of the Masters. John Hartwell is going to be on here with us in a second. But both of y'all see, I don't play. I'll play golf if it's a company tournament. And they'll put me with the better golfers. I grew up playing tennis. But I will say this, when I do go play golf, it's so much fun. It's addictive. I would want to play every day of the week. And you look at a guy like Tiger Woods, starts off, he's gonna break every record, the 18, majors that Nicklaus won. He's gonna do it. He hit 14. Is he at 15 now? And I mean, that just proves Jack Nicklaus's greatness. And Loran knows Jack Nicklaus very well. Jack Nicklaus had one of his children go to school at Georgia. But it's just unbelievable, the sheer reverence. And I think what it boils down to is, okay, and I know, Dudley, you got to go, but how when we revere things and hold things in high esteem and maintain the standards, tradition never graduates. And Dudley, I know you got to go, so let people know. You got a few minutes left. This is John Hartwell, AD at ULM, our friend who's on here with us every week. But let people know before you go, again, how they can follow you, keep up with the Razorbacks. But again, you're not like most writers. You came into college on the staff as a GA and you got to work with Eddie Sutton, Nolan Richardson. You got a hell of a story.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hogville.net is one of the websites I work for, and Fearless Friday. They're both together. Excited to continue to do that, and Twitter is dead sports. I don't argue as much as I used to on Twitter anymore. My wife's talked to me about that. So. All right, enjoyed it.
Hey, look, we love it here. That is Dudley Dawson, the native of Balch, Arkansas, a suburb of Newport. So we'll do it again next week. Appreciate you being on.
All right.
All righty, man. John Hartwell's on ADULM, La Monroe. Tell us, you hired a new basketball coach, a women's basketball coach last week. And we talked about this earlier with Matt Dean. And Matt, you could have, I have a lot of respect for both of y'all because I've gotten to know you and I know what y'all do. I know what you represent. John, competition brings out some crazy stuff in us. I don't watch the Iron Bowl with my Alabama friends because it's during duck season, and I don't want anybody to get hurt, okay? We really don't talk about it. But
especially with a gun in your hand, right?
That's right. That's my point. I wouldn't go quail hunting with Dick Cheney either, though. He's supposed to say, low bird, you don't shoot. But anyway, when you saw the way that what's going on with, the jawing between Iowa and LSU, I mean, there's a certain amount of that goes on during a game. But I've also been fortunate enough to be on the football field a few times, and I've watched referees, and I knew a good friend of our family's, Joe Pipkin, who refereed major Southern football games, independent games for 33 years. He was from Memphis. And Mr. Joe would do games like Penn State, Alabama, Auburn, Florida State, Miami, South Carolina, the big ones. He didn't put up with any jawing or anything, and he'd get up there and say, let me tell y'all something straight up. Your ass is out of here if you pull that stuff. And they have to establish a tempo. I think what makes everybody mad is because social media, it just goes on and on and on. As an AD, your coach, you have standards and everything like that. And Matt's already talked about it. There's a lot of interest. People are still talking about women's basketball 5 days after the national championship. But do you agree with me that, hey, y'all need to shake hands and not putting the ring in your face? I just don't do that.
Yeah, I think a couple of things, and call me old school, call me what you want to, but
I call you right.
I think you celebrate your victory, but you don't show up your opponent. I mean, it's a fine line sometimes, and you as a coach or an administrator, you don't want to curb your student athletes' exuberance over success. But you know what? If you're in the game long enough, you're going to be on the other side of that. And I think it's a teaching moment to say, hey, when you're doing it, it's fine. But hey, if it gets done to you, how would you feel about that? And I think that's, sometimes, especially in today's world of political correctness, we try to back away from that. And, everybody can do what they want to. Well, you know what? Not only are you representing yourself, but you're representing, the logo that you're wearing and your family and your institution. So, let's have class about how we go about it. And again, in the heated moment of competition, that's tough sometimes because, to say there's jawing in the game back and forth, that is part of the game sometimes. And at times, when officials are involved, whether it's basketball or football.
John, hold those thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. I want to come back. I want you to continue this quick break right back after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
We are back with John Hartwell. John, I just want to show you this real quick. This is Juan Valdez with his Pack Mule Colombian coffee. It is absolutely incredible. Now, we got this at the Walmarts over in Wynne, Arkansas. But Juan Valdez, he is back with his famous burro. And you can put this also on brownies. It's delicious. But John, keep going because you were on a roll. The Germans had just bombed Pearl Harbor, so keep going.
Yeah, and bottom line, sportsmanship has got to still be a part of the game. It can't be such back and forth chatter or whatever else it may be, and it's not all verbal. Clearly in this situation, it was hand motions, it was signals. Win with class. There's a difference between exuberance and celebrating and showing somebody up. And oh, by the way, and I still hear coaches, and it makes me happy to hear this. Act like you've been there before. Don't, when guys score touchdowns and go hand the ball to the official, I love seeing that. That's like, hey, this is supposed to happen, and this is just part of the game. This isn't about me. This is about our team. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. Matt?
No, agree with John. John, good to see you. I know you've been busy as heck. I'll give you an example in the coaching world. The first championship I was part of as a head coach, we went on a late 7-0 run. It was a 2-point game. It was our first title. And so we were excited. But, we got in the line. We looked them in the eye. We shook their hands. Next year, we're hosting the conference tournament. We're up by 22. Minutes ago, there was a timeout call in the huddle, John. I said, hey, look, we've done this before. The game's no longer in peril. Make sure we respect our opponent. They played a heck of a game, too, today. So, those are lifelong messages because I promise you, like even the thing that's been crazy about this whole thing. And John, I was pretty fired up on Monday because, I'm an Iowa Hawkeye at heart and, got our ass kicked. So it was tough. But, a couple things stood out to me about that game. They're not even being talked about. Number one, Iowa basically waited for LSU to get in the shake hand line. They never came. That's number one. Okay. And they waited 2 or 3 minutes. It wasn't like spontaneous. You won by 17. It wasn't a buzzer beater, right? I get those buzzer beaters like when Lamont Butler hit that shot to win the game against FAU. So much emotion. Things get lost in interpretation, Number two, this thing is now translated in the White House invitations, right? Because Biden comes out and says, well, I think Iowa played such a great game. They should come too. No, Jill, that's not the way it's done. Okay. And then now the LSU player is saying, well, we want to go to the Obamas, forget going to the White House. So, the about it, though, is still women's basketball almost 5 days later. So 9.9 million viewers. It was an incredible tournament. And the last thing there's narrative about Iowa.
We got R2D2 all here on the other end of the line.
So from my standpoint, Iowa did LSU a favor.
Yeah. Well, Matt, you were breaking up a little bit there. We've, I think it's interference on the internet, but bottom line, I whatever I am, I responded to somebody on Twitter. I said, sorry, only the national champions, go. If Iowa wants to go, they can win the national championship. Very likely they're going to be playing for it again next year because it looks like most of that team is coming back for the Hawkeyes. But sorry, Jill Biden, there are no participation trophies here. Okay. And
as an Iowa fan, I cringed. Like, no, that's not what we're doing. No.
Yeah. Can't we all get along? And, look, sure we can. But when you win, there are winners and there's losers. But I'll tell you, Iowa, God almighty, that Caitlin is an incredible player. And John, keep going.
Yeah, and I would say, it's, again, I don't want to get off of sports onto a society or a political commentary, but, you see snippets of people say, oh, well, because this was two females, in quote confrontation, it's made a more big deal of than it is when two guys in the NFL or college football or the NBA or whatever get into it. I don't necessarily think sportsmanship transcends gender. I mean, as long as you're playing games, and again, not to be forgotten, we're educators in this business. This is not just about the games they play while they're collegiate student athletes. This is about the game of life. And, Rob, I would venture to say that if you take over a portfolio for an investor from somebody else for whatever reason, you aren't calling the previous investment advisor and taunting them and saying, "Oh, I kicked your tail. I got this $500,000 portfolio and you don't have it anymore."
No.
Again, be professional, have sportsmanship, and because again, it may not be on the fields of competition, but there are wins and losses in everyday life, and that's part of our job as educators to teach the young men and young women in our programs how to do it with class. Because again, in the game of life or in athletics, you're going to be on both sides. You're not going to have. You may have an undefeated season. A very, very, very small percentage of people ever experience an undefeated season. But guess what? You're not going to have an undefeated life.
Yeah.
Very good point, Chad. Good point.
I watched on Fox Sports Channel 16 over in Little Rock a couple of days ago. Our friend Wes Moore, who's on the show every week with us from Little Rock, he's also a sports anchor there at the softball team for University of Central Arkansas. They're in Conway. The high school there, nickname, you got to love it, the Wampus Cats. I love that name. But their game against, I think, Southeast Missouri was canceled Monday or Tuesday because of bad weather up there. So they went down to Little Rock, and their coaches had them spend the day distributing food and goods and services and what to people who'd been, I don't use the term victims, that's an overused term, the tornado people who'd been hit by that tornado, to go to good public service. Okay. Both of y'all know this. I can't tell you, John, when we've hired, interns over the years from Rhodes back over at Duncan Williams, these kids all showed up with that mentality. What can I do to help? You're preparing them. You're right, for way beyond this. But if they don't learn how to compete and handle themselves and not let one defeat beat them day after day after day for the rest of their lives, then you're not teaching them the right lessons.
No question. And again, it's just we live vicariously through sports, but it's a microcosm of life, and don't make it bigger than it is. Yeah, winning a national championship is a huge thing. Congratulations to Kim Mulkey. She was a coach right down the road from here at Louisiana Tech for a while. A lot of people in this area know her. Congratulations. She's done an unbelievable job, has been able to take what she did at Baylor and come in very quick order, do that at LSU. But again, teaching moment opportunities as coaches or administrators, we can't let those pass by.
Yeah. And Matt, you know that. You look at all the student athletes you've coached over the years that are now doctors, attorneys, financial advisors, whatever. All of them, remember, the one lesson more than anything else is you never let them quit on themselves.
No, and I remember one of my players, and I will not reference her name. She's in her Hall of Fame now. I coached in second year in college. She decided to go move back with her boyfriend. She was going to give up the college, give up basketball, and she was going to go back to her small town where he was living and working a job. And she was 19, 20 years old. And the dad called me and said, "Hey, can you do something about this?" So I drove up there 2.5 hours. I kept calling her. She didn't answer. We finally met at a restaurant. We talked it out. And needless to say, she had a great career. She had a Rhodes degree. She became a lawyer. She's a successful businesswoman. She's married, 2 children, different guy. These things are, it's life we're talking about. John's 100% correct. If you have a hard time shaking someone's hand after a loss, you're going to have a hard time working on your first business deal because you're going to get your butt kicked in life a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. John, I mean, both of y'all, this is real life. I mean, this is what you all do for a living. You're looking at it down there at ULM. You've had to come in. You've got 17 different teams, men's and women's, 367 student athletes, scholarships, walk-ons, and everything. What are you finding out the needs are? People always say kids today are different. I don't think kids today are different. I think parents are different in that they try to be best friends with their kids. Who do I hear that from? My own kids. They're not saying it about me because they think I'm I'm not going to say it on the air, but now they're actually giving me compliments and saying, Dad, you're right. You better learn how to fight because mommy and daddy are not always going to be there to bail your ass out of jams. And if you don't learn those lessons now, on the job training, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it is. And I think, one of the things, it doesn't matter where you're an AD or an administrator or a coach. We can't forget that none of us have jobs if it's not for our student athletes. So providing the very best student athlete experience we can has got to be first and foremost in all decisions that we make. And if you take care of business that way, and that's one of the things that I've told all of our coaches, because part of the reason why this job was available is all of our teams do not sit atop the standings in the Sun Belt Conference, and that's no secret and something that we're not going to hide from. And I'm like, again, go back to the basics. Take care of student athlete experience. Take care of those kids. Invest in them. And oh, by the way, if we're doing our job recruiting and getting talented kids and kids who can get better over their course of time here, then the wins are going to take care of themselves. And sometimes we get so focused on making sure that the left-hand column, the W's column is higher than the L column. And Rob, you guys know this. I'll harken back to my debits and credits days as a CPA. You can't let the numbers drive everything. You got to be about the process, and it takes time. And that's an important daily focus that we're doing now. Clearly, in college athletics, there's a correlation between investment in and success output, without a doubt. And we've got to to build up our revenues to do that. And, I spent most of the day yesterday in Shreveport seeing some donors over there and some prospective donors, and came away with some couple of checks in the pocket. So that's always good. But it takes time, but focusing on what matters the most, start at the baseline with the student athletes. And that's got to be first and foremost in everything we do.
Yeah. I mean, John, it's very similar to what I do on top of this show. You're going out and you're talking to prospective donors, clients, whatever, prospects. That's critical. I mean, and then showing them for the money that they're investing, what the return on investment is. And that's critical. And you look at 17 sports programs. If you're not winning, okay, let's do a deconstruction analysis, lay it all out on the table. Okay, why aren't we winning? And start, and put the ball in the coach's court. I mean, Matt, isn't that what you would do?
Yeah, and to follow up John's point, like even health of the institution, like right now, we kind of knew in 2023, there's not as many students going to college. There's a shortage in the numbers. So all of our institutions, we're not only competing for student athletes, we're competing for students. And John can do his job, but if the admissions department, ULM, is not enrolling kids and getting a good chunk of NTR for the institution, it makes his job harder. So, yes, student athlete success and well-being, every program has someone attached to that area, but that needs to focus always in the student life of the institution. Are the kids that are coming to those games, to watching those student athletes play, are they having a good experience? And a lot of times the culture that John can develop at the halftime entertainment of a women's basketball game or a softball game, that stuff matters. It affects retention. You know, we not only have to recruit students at institutions, we have to retain students. You know, I saw an interesting stat. One of the reasons we've been very successful at Rhodes, our retention rate now as an institution is 92%. Well, we're doing something right in SAS, you know, student athlete success. We're obviously as a whole winning more, we're losing, but the entire student body is having a good experience. And that's really important. That's what's interesting about, you take FAU. This happened, John, I think when Florida Gulf Coast had their run, when Hartwell left there to go to USC, the applications went crazy for FAU as an institution after we saw them beat like Georgetown in the NCAA tournament on national TV. It's so important, you know, from a visibility standpoint, what we do, those 2 hours, everyone sits there, they're looking on the game. Well, a lot of kids are looking at like, hey, that'd be a neat place to go to school.
Yeah, it really is.
Gulf Coast.
Oh, sorry. People talk about being athletics being the front porch of the institution. I mean, that's the perfect example there. And successful athletics helps the entire university from an exposure standpoint. I mean, you look, like you said, whether it's FAU or San Diego State, the value that over a 3-week period those institutions had, you could not put a dollar value. Well, you can put a dollar value on it, but there's no way you could pay for the exposure and the positive advertisement that those institutions got. And like you said, that equates to increased admissions and everything else and people with interest in the institution.
It is. And there's just, to me, golly, having a retention rate of 92% is incredible, because it used to be 67% of the students that went there would finish at a school if they started as a freshman, whatever. And then the number of people that transfer in from a community college, I think it's close to 80% at a lot of schools. But I think, John, I know you've got to go. You're on a tight schedule, but tell people that are listening, that are just fans, again, how to contact you, how to support your program. You know, we have people that are fans of a lot of schools, but can you hold on for about 2 minutes? Okay, let's take a quick break. I want you to get the word out on how they can support you, because if you live near a university and you do business there, support it. We'll be right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Hey, John, before you go, let people know how they can contact you. But I think it's been a great discussion really about accountability and what all is involved in running an athletic program, being an AD and dealing with 367 or 600 student athletes, somewhere in between. That's about what it is everywhere. It's a massive responsibility. It's almost an AD is more like a governor than a coach who is more like the president or a senator. You've got to do everything, and with your background in accounting, right down to budgeting to the last dollar.
Hey, probably the most accurate thing you said there, or correlation, Rob, is governor, because as an elected official, on your best day, you may have 80, and this is at the extreme top, you may have 85% approval rating, because there are plenty of armchair athletic directors, just like there are armchair coaches out there. But I wouldn't trade what I do for the world. And what a great opportunity to positively impact the lives of the young people who are our next generation of leaders. I'd be remiss if I didn't say right there in your backyard, obviously Wynne, Arkansas suffered some great losses last week in the storms, and Little Rock and all over, areas of the Southeast. So thoughts and prayers out to those folks. And again, people talk, hang on wins and losses and games and who wins. Let's not forget the important things of life and doing things for others and trying to be selfless servants. Yeah. But enough of my side commentary there. Would love for folks to follow Twitter, John_Hartwell. You can follow the progress of our Warhawks athletic teams at ulmwarhawks.com. And as always, I look forward to this time every week because if folks don't know this, I get the good fortune of sharing this platform with two unbelievably talented folks, but even better people than they are talented. So thanks, guys.
Well, ditto on our part. We love it, and I think we're all learning a lot. We're gonna have to write a book about it. But John, till then, I'll talk to you this week, and look forward to next Thursday.
Great. Have a great day.
You too, John. Thank you.
Hey, let me say something real quick about one of our sponsors, and I'm going to be over there here after the show to go check out. They're about ready. rumbleboxinggym.com/Midtown Memphis. And Camp Lee opening the first of 3 of these locations. The soft opening for Rumble Boxing, okay? The soft opening is scheduled to be Monday, April 17th, and the schedule is now live. Go to the Instagram's account at Rumble Boxing Gym, Rumble Boxing Midtown Memphis to see it and find out how to book your first class. Throughout the week of April 17th, there will be special deals on memberships and classes, plus giveaways, samplings, wellness vendors on site, and a big celebration on Saturday, April 22nd. For a limited time, they're selling BOGOs, so you can get 2 classes for the price of one, $23 to try out the classes and or bring a friend. Hurry up and sign up for the founding member discounts of 20% off unlimited classes and the $99 Rumble Bundle deal. That's boxing gear, both of which end for good on April 23rd. There are also some other packages to fit everyone's individual needs and lifestyles. They also have some really strong logo merchandise. Thank you, and Camp Lee. And again, I'm going over there today, Rumble Boxing Gym in Memphis, Union, and McLean, the first of 3 locations that Ann is opening. And I'm telling you, Matt, we may have to go over there and do this class together because, hey, you're about 6'3", 198 pounds of nothing but pure Midwestern corn-fed muscle. And so you ready to go over there and go to these boxing classes because it's going to be fun.
I appreciate the fabrication on my weight, Rob, but I am still 6'3". I haven't shrunk too much yet. You know what's interesting? Boxing, or even just like hitting a punching bag, is just such an incredible workout, right? It's a little the anti-swimming, because in swimming, you don't have that resistance. But man, physicality, the respect that I have for what boxers and these MMA fighters do, man, I want no part of that. The workout, though, would be incredible. So that's just right down the street from Rhodes College. I'll see if I can try to help her get some of our Rhodes students interested. We need to figure out a plan. Maybe I can take some business cards to some of my students. You never know.
Matt, I'll tell you what, if you want to meet me in Midtown today at 12 o'clock, I'm going over there during lunch. If you can, then they're going to have an influencers night, April 20th, which is 2 weeks from tonight. And you can sign up and take the one of the 45-minute boxing workouts. So that'll be a lot of fun. I know you're in shape.
Bell would ring, it'll be over for Dino. I promise you that.
I don't know if we're going to be banging on each other and punching each other, but it is a phenomenal work. I've known Ann's parents, her late father and her mother is 97. We just went up there March 2nd to Jonesboro at the Embassy Suites. She was inducted into the Arkansas Waterfowlers Hall of Fame.
That's right.
Still blowing a duck call and still duck hunting at the OK Duck Club in Weiner, Arkansas. absolutely amazing at age 97. Ann's got good genes. And maybe it's because she's opened up this rumbleboxinggym.com/Midtown Memphis. Again, one of our sponsors. We're really proud to have. And Matt, I will get some information to you and get it over to you at Rhodes College for your students, because it's an incredible workout. You engage both sides of your brain. I love that conversation that we just had with John Hartwell. You, AD, associate AD, coach, you've done women, you've done men. And, I think Audrey made a good point. Here it is 5 days afterwards. We're still talking about the women's basketball, but are we doing it for the right reasons? Look, I don't, beat around the bush. I call it like I see it. I'm not PC. I'm not soft. I'm not. Neither are you. I just want to see good sportsmanship. But I'm going to tell you what, Matt, as a competitor in everything that I do and you do, you're the same way. I bet you Caitlin Clark and those Iowa Hawkeyes, I bet they've got the date and the exact starting time of next year's national championship game, Final Four. Every day, everything they do is going to be aiming towards getting back to there. But that was a lot of fun. And I'll say this about Iowa. I've hunted out there. I've been all over that state. I hadn't been to the Quad Cities yet, but those are awesome people up there. And you go to Des Moines, the Raccoon River and the Des Moines River, it's gorgeous. Indianapolis, Des Moines, two of the cleanest cities I've ever been to. And Des Moines, of course, the Des Moines Register, Des Moines Caucus. You've got Drake there. Because, Ames is where Iowa State is. Iowa City where Iowa is. That's an incredible state. I mean, big time state. And I really do wish we could start seeing regular season matchups. Auburn to Iowa in mid-September, Iowa to Alabama or Ole Miss in October, Florida to Iowa in late November. I've been to Iowa the first week of November when it was in the 80s, and I've been up there when we went out one afternoon, and within no time at all, we had 8 or 9 inches of snow on top of us. And all of our dogs were so confused. The pointers and the German short hairs and the labs were all circled up on point. And we got up there. It was snowing so hard. I'm not kidding you. We jumped a wad of 20 turkeys. But it is absolutely beautiful state. And if you like cowboy movies, where is John Wayne from, Matt?
I don't know the city, but I'm pretty sure it's from my home state.
Yeah, he's from Iowa. Is it? It's kind of near Des Moines, isn't it?
I think it is. And Rob, let me just say this, because we've talked a lot about Kiel Mulkey, the very successful national championship. Now she's 4-0 in those games, head coach for LSU now. But Lisa Bluter is a friend of mine. When I was at Drake as a graduate assistant, a GA, I shared an office space with her GA, Robin Pinchton. Robin is now the head coach in Missouri, and Robin's had a successful career. So Robin is a product of, she played for Coach Bluter at St. Ambrose in my hometown of Davenport. And then Jan Jensen, her associate coach, who is the associate coach of the year, Jan scored over 2,000 points, I believe, at Drake. I watched Jan play many a college basketball game. I want to go back to the South Carolina game when I want to talk about Iowa. If people didn't think Iowa had any kind of chance, I think they were 11.5, 12-point underdogs against South Carolina. And they had such an incredible game plan. And I think it kind of shocked some people that Iowa could stay with an SEC program like South Carolina, who had won 42 straight games, right? Mm-hmm. And then, I think what would be really neat is, to see LSU and Iowa in some kind of, they even mentioned how Phil Knight has that legacy tournament up there, invites some teams. It'd be really cool to get Iowa playing LSU again somewhere in the regular season. Hey, come on up to Iowa City. I don't know if you realize this, Rob. Iowa was in the tops of the country in home attendance. I mean, their last few games, they packed in over 15,000 people at Carver Hawkeye Arena, and that's kind of like SEC stuff right there. So, Removed from it now. We're still talking about the game. LSU was terrific on the floor. Iowa had a great season. So they are growing the game. And but I just wanted to comment on the Iowa women's staff. They are tremendous people. They're going to put their team in a position to compete for the Big Ten again and hopefully make a run. But the sad thing about it, Rob, is this. It's hard to get back to the title game, even if you got the whole team back and you add pieces. I mean, there's always that one night. Like, look at what happened to Memphis this year. Memphis, we didn't think anything of it, Rob, when they lost to FAU by a point. Well, that's Memphis being Memphis. Well, what if Memphis would have won that game? With this crazy tournament, Memphis could have been the Final Four, Rob. I mean, that's how college basketball is these days. We've talked about it. It's a different era. There's less dominance, even though I will tell you, we were wrong about a dominant team. They were in Storrs, Connecticut. Man, Connecticut. And this is where I still think I want to give San Diego State a lot of credit. With 5 minutes to go, it's a 2-possession game. They had battled back, even though Connecticut finished strong and won by 17. So college basketball, as always, is in a good place. Already talking about next year's way too early top 25. I've seen in many publications this week. That's what we do. I'm waiting for the first talk about spring football here, Rob. That's coming. It's not that far away. We got SEC baseball's probably halfway through the conference season, Rob. We'll be not that far away from the SEC tournament. And for people that have never been to an SEC tournament baseball game, my God, what an experience that is, Rob.
It is. And I like what you're saying. This is week 4 coming up starting tonight. You'll have a Thursday night SEC game. They'll play 10 weekend series in the SEC. It's a grinder. D1, D2, D3. Again, I am a populist. I love to see, but I also like to see every school in America be committed to winning. It's like John Hartwell said. He's not there as the AD, the new AD at ULM, because things were going so well. Right. They've got to do a deconstruction analysis of those 17 teams. And he's right. You take a portfolio, someone moves an account over to you, you're going to break it down, lay it out on the table, and see what's working. And if everything's working fine, don't change anything. Right. But and also he's right about on the investment side. Well, I don't want to sell it. I don't want to pay the taxes. Well, trees don't grow to the sky. We'll say, hey, consider selling a portion of this position if it's a concentrated equity position. But my late friend Barry Blackburn, man, used to always say, estate planning attorney with an LLM in estate planning. I went to Auburn, Ole Miss, and Miami. He'd say about that, don't let the tax tail wag the dog. You got to think about things. I love it where we are, Matt, in sports, because again, people, it's awful easy to get caught up in all the negativity. Every day you wake up, and you know what? I listen to you. I listen to John, to Dudley, Loran Smith's 81, 82. That dude's up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning, walking, hiking, exercising. He's at his 64th consecutive Masters. And let me just say this real quick before we go.
Incredible.
Maury Gaston's listening to us right now. And Maury, mechanical engineer with a SIPCO, 42 years, American Cast Iron Pipe Company in Birmingham, who's a great sponsor of us for SEC Media Days and all. He pulled up a copy of the Purdue Student newspaper the other day and put it out on a site, a text thread with a bunch of us. They misspelled the word judgment. And man, Maury being a mechanical engineer, they're up there recruiting, students to come work in Birmingham. And I mean, they're just wearing him out about it. But Maury's listening to us right now, driving through southern Indiana in the heart of Amish country. Get some baked goods, some leather belts, and maybe one of those good-looking hats, Maury. But most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Folks, it is Thursday. Tomorrow is Good Friday. Sunday is Easter. This is the holiest time of the year. We're going to be doing a show tomorrow morning. Most of you are not going to be working, but I want to say, look, we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Do yourself a favor. Turn off the news. Instead of listening to all that damn crap for hours on top of hours, go work out, go run, go exercise. Go over to Rhodes College and see what they're doing over there. You got any games coming up, Matt?
This weekend we're kind of off, Rob. But I will tell you, the next 3 weekends we're going to have a ton of activity on our campus. We're going to be hosting lacrosse and baseball playoffs. Hopefully, our baseball program, Jeff Calanthes, has got over 500 career wins. Both of our lacrosse programs have done very well in a short period of time, just over a decade, with the men's program. And the women's program has traditionally won conference championships and gone to NCAA tournaments the last 7 years. So we're proud of what we do. I'll give you one last stat, Rob, about Rhodes student athlete success.
I love this. This is great.
We have over 526 student athletes. This past semester, past year, 406 out of 526 were on the academic honor roll with 3.25 GPA or better for our conference. Incredible number. We kicked the league by far in that stat. And that's a game of life stat there. That's not a batting average or an RBI production or an ERA. That's a pretty impressive stat with what our student athletes are doing.
Yeah, look, I cannot say enough good things about it. Our great friend Lloyd Templeton and Dr. Doggerel and you and so many, Bud Ritchie, so many people at Rhodes College. It's a special place. Look, no matter where you are, thanks for listening. www.sidelines.live. And we'll be back with you tomorrow. We'll start off with Loran Smith live from Augusta, the Masters. Until then, make a positive difference. No negative thoughts in your mind. We'll see you tomorrow. We are out of here.